And good morning at 7:04 on this Tuesday. It's December 5th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Hello, everybody. A good morning to you. Welcome to our program. Glad to have you, of course. And we're on the air from Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. Tracy Pope is here this morning. Tracy, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
And let me tell everybody, Tracy, of course, Director of Community Relations for Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. So, whatever's on your mind, introduce the guest you brought.
Yes, we're excited to have Dr. Andrew Hopper. He is our trauma medical director here at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. He's a general and trauma surgeon, so we're excited to talk to him this morning.
Well, good morning, Dr. Andrew Hopper.
Good morning, Coleman. Thank you very much for having me.
Good to see you again. We've had a nice conversation here, waiting for the on-the-air light to come on this morning.
Yes, sir.
Find out you are a little bit of a sports fan.
Yes, sir.
And we talked a little football, of course. Well, Dr. Andrew Hopper, trauma medical director, general and trauma surgeon, of course, at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. You have visited us a few times before, but remind our audience where you're from, where you were trained, and a little bit about yourself.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me back here. So, as Tracy said, I'm the trauma medical director here at Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. My father was in the military, and so I kind of grew up all over the country. But he retired from the Marine Corps back in 2000 and decided he wanted to try his hand at cattle ranching. And so we moved out to rural Arizona from San Diego, California. And he did that for about 15 years or so, but ended up going to undergraduate and medical school in Arizona, in Tucson, and then did residency up in Phoenix. And after residency, you apply to fellowship for trauma and critical care, and had never lived in the Southeast before, and applied to Vanderbilt, and so did a 2-year fellowship in trauma critical care.
What got you in that direction?
You know, I think a lot of it actually was the work we did on the cattle ranch. You know, it was hands-on. It was, taking care of the animals. And I've always had a passion for science, and that really kind of led me down, I think, a healthcare sort of field.
Well, there are different types of surgery that you perform. What are some of them?
Yeah. So it's one of the nice things, I think, of being a trauma and acute care surgeon is I get to dabble in a little bit of everything. I'm the type of person who will get bored if I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And so as a trauma acute care surgeon, I can, take care of a gunshot wound that comes in, a motor vehicle crash. We had a couple of appendixes that needed to come out last night, all the way over to, a patient who was a victim of a car crash and needed their chest wall stabilized with plates. So I get to operate in all the different cavities of the body, and it's exciting.
But in any of those things you just talked about, and somebody that's hurt and bleeding and maybe about to die, that you're okay with that. You have to be, I guess, but I sure wouldn't be.
Well, it's a long road to becoming a trauma surgeon, a lot of training. And yes, every patient is a little bit different. Every injury is a little bit different, but that's where you fall back on your training and the basics and the foundation, and you work through the problem a step at a time.
Well, if you have someone who is really sick and needing surgery, or you have somebody that has just been injured and they're bleeding and you've got to do something quickly, do you prefer one over the other, or you like both because it's different? Or
I honestly like both because it's different, and that's the beauty of my day is you never really know how it's going to go. I mean, yes, I do elective cases, and some of my day is planned out, but then at the same time, we may have a car crash victim with a bleeding spleen that comes through the ER that we need to emergently take to the operating room.
And in those situations, you don't have time to know anything about their background or anything hardly, unless it might be on them when they come in or somebody tells you. I mean, you have to make some decisions very in a hurry, very hurriedly.
Yes, sir. That's exactly right. And, a lot of patients, they'll be on blood thinners. Typically, if you're going to have elective surgery, you stop your blood thinners. Well, trauma patients, they don't know they're going to be in a car accident, and so their blood thinners are still going and other medications. And it's just one of the challenges of being a trauma surgeon.
Well, I have to say I have a great respect great admiration for somebody who is able to do that and be sane and make the right decisions under all that pressure and duress. So I take my hat off to you. But I don't hardly understand how you're able to do that. Of course, experience no doubt helps.
Yes, and thank you. We call it controlled chaos in the ER, and you never want to panic. Again, you have to fall back to your training, and you want to stay calm, cool, and collected, so you can move through the steps of getting the patient the appropriate.
But not only do you have the experience that you have now for however many years you've been doing practice, but you were trained extensively in this, no doubt, before you were cut loose, let's say, before you graduated, before they allowed you to do it on your own.
Yes, sir. As I said, I was trained down at Vanderbilt 2 years in trauma and critical care. And, Nashville is a very nice city, and Middle Tennessee is a great place to live, but we definitely have our fair share of violence, and it doesn't always make the newspapers. And so I had an incredible training experience through the downtown campus.
Well, let's talk about the different types of surgery that you do perform, and I think you've already mentioned this to some degree, but we can specify here gallbladder surgery. That is a very common one, isn't it?
It is. It's one of the most common operations we do as emergency general surgeons, as well as elective general surgery. And the gallbladder can be a pesky thing to patients. Not very well designed if you think about the body and how it's engineered. And so a lot of gallbladders get taken out.
What causes them to? I mean, I guess they get infected or they're not functioning properly. But what are some of the reasons that the gallbladder needs to come out?
So the most common cause in sort of Western civilization or American society is formation of stones. So think back to your high school chemistry. Your liver makes something called bile. That bile gets secreted out of the liver and actually gets stored in your gallbladder. And that bile can precipitate, and it can form stones. And those stones start to block the outflow and inflow to the gallbladder, and they can cause obstructive type symptoms.
Is that the most common gallbladder problem, the stones?
Yes, stones are probably the most common, but you can also think of the gallbladder like a pump, and sometimes the pump just doesn't work. So some people may not have stones, but they have a faulty pump. And it's another reason you have to take out the gallbladder.
Are there ways to avoid having to take it out? And I'm wondering about anything you can do early on to prevent that.
There are. So there's definitely an environmental component to it. So again, it's part of our, unfortunately, Western diet. So greasy foods, fatty foods, spicy foods. And if you kind of maintain, healthy body weight, those are ways to minimize formation of stones.
Of those that you see with a gallbladder problem, most of those going to come out? Most of them going to have surgery?
Most of them are going to come out. It's best to try to take care of the problem before it becomes an emergency. So, if we can do it electively, it makes the operation much easier for the patient, as opposed to if the gallbladder gets so sick that the gallbladder is basically dying.
Okay, well, I guess that means we need to talk about some signs. How would you know that you even have a problem with a gallbladder?
Yeah, so most people are going to have epigastric pain, which is pain basically right of the upper middle portion of your abdomen. Sometimes that pain will radiate to your right upper quadrant as well as your right flank. And the majority of the time it's postprandial, meaning it's pain 30 minutes to an hour after you eat. And usually it's greasy foods, spicy foods that really set off the gallbladder.
So that is a sign you have a problem there.
Yes, that's a sign that you could have a problem with your gallbladder, and you need to get in to see your primary care physician or a general surgeon so you can have further workup.
If this happens early enough, can you maybe change your diet, change some things, and be okay, avoid the surgery?
Sometimes there are some people who, through healthy, diet modifications, lifestyle modifications can get better. But in all honesty, the majority of patients, once they have those stones aren't going to necessarily go away and end up needing surgery.
And what about living without a gallbladder?
Yeah. So like I said, it's one of the most common operations that we do, and the majority of people do just fine without their gallbladder, thankfully. The body does take a little bit of time, few weeks, to adjust to not having a gallbladder and basically that bile getting dumped directly into your GI tract. But again, majority of people do just fine.
Does this have anything to do maybe with longevity? If you're going to live just as long without that gallbladder as you would with it, maybe, or?
Yep, nothing shows that it'll affect overall, quality of life or longevity.
It's just that you don't have a gallbladder.
Exactly.
All right, we're about the 7:15 mark where we usually take a break. We'll do that right here. Dr. Andrew Hopper is with us, along with Tracy Pope, and our program presented by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital here on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to our friends at Absolute Kubota, high performance, high horsepower, 0% financing is still a thing. Now is the best time to save on new Kubota L-Series tractors, rated #1 for durability and experience in the U.S. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now in traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Starting to really get busy out here in a couple of spots. I-40 westbound, especially coming in from Hermitage, coming in from Wilson County. It's heavy and running slow on 24 westbound through Laverne, Smyrna, leaving Rutherford County towards Nashville. I see a heavy volume of traffic trying to get through Hendersonville westbound on Vietnam. That's from Gallatin Pike all the way up to Conference Drive. Hey, don't miss it this year, Enchanted Garden of Lights at Rock City in Chattanooga. Check them out online at crockcity.com. I'm Commander Chuck. You're on Time Traffic.
Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing has experienced new leadership and a new atmosphere. Same location in the heart of Lebanon, 731 Castle Heights Court on the Castle Heights campus. Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing is providing 5-star clinical outcomes to short-term and long-term care residents. Call 615-444-4319 for a tour and to experience the new culture. Renewal happens here at Lebanon Center for Rehabilitation and Healing.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
We continue here on this Tuesday morning. Thanks for joining us. And of course, the program presented by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. Getting back to Dr. Andrew Hopper here, the trauma medical director. A couple more things real quickly about gallbladder. The expected recovery time from gallbladder surgery.
Yeah, if we're able to do it in the elective setting, most of my patients go home the same day because we're able to do the surgery laparoscopic. If we have to do it in the emergent setting, then patients are usually going to spend at least overnight in the hospital, maybe 2 days in the hospital. The other thing I tell people, you're probably going to be out of work for about 7 to 10 days. Even though the incisions are small, you still had major surgery. It's still going to take a little bit of time to recover.
And one other time, what about making an appointment? Do people come directly to you? Can they, or are they usually referred by primary care physician?
We're happy to see anyone and everyone in our office, but a lot of times insurance companies will require prior sort of referral or authorization. And so if that's the case, they need to talk to their primary care physician to get that referral.
Okay, well, I think we've probably spent enough time on gallbladder surgery, but it and hernia surgeries are at the top of your surgery list of how often that's what you do more than anything else. So let's talk about hernias and different types of hernia surgeries.
Yeah, so a little bit of background on hernias. Basically, a hernia is a defect in the abdominal wall. And your abdominal wall is made up of multiple layers. And why that's important is it kind of dictates where you can have the hernia. So a lot of times people will have umbilical hernias, but you can also get inguinal hernias. And then, of course, you can have hernias where you've had previous surgery because there's sort of that defect or that break in the abdominal wall.
Is there one more common than the other?
Not necessarily. They can all be pretty common. It really is a breakdown or a weakness in the abdominal wall.
Is there any way to prevent that necessarily?
Yeah, so hernias are caused by basically increased intra-abdominal pressure. So, obesity can lead to that increased abdominal pressure. Constipation can do things like that. Or if you're straining a lot, so, workplace, if you're having to pick up a lot of things.
Lifting can...
That basically causes that increase in intra-abdominal pressure and then opens up those spaces.
All right, so you have a problem. How can it be fixed?
Right. So that involves surgery, and you can do what's called either a primary repair of the hernia or a mesh repair. So before we had all the fancy meshes, they used to just do a primary repair with suture. And that was a pretty good repair, but your risk of recurrence, meaning the hernia coming back, was about 30%. And what we found is if we put a piece of mesh, and that mesh almost looks like window screen, but if we use a piece of mesh, that actually distributes the forces, the tension, over the entire mesh as opposed to just relying on some individual suture, and that drops your recurrence risk to about 5%. So it's actually a much stronger operation. It's kind of the standard operation that we use.
How invasive, and can you do that laparoscopically, if I said that word right?
Yes, sir. So it depends on the patient and how large their hernia is, but we can do laparoscopic if technically possible.
That's what I meant to say.
Yes, sir.
Laparoscopically. Okay.
Yes, sir. Or minimally invasive versus the old-fashioned sort of open incision.
I guess the laparoscopy is preferred.
It is, and if it's technically possible, then we'll try to do that. But it does probably have a quicker return to work and is associated with probably a little bit less pain.
How successful, and if you have that the screen, the mesh, and we have had, I think there's been some faulty meshes in the past that we want to avoid, right?
Yes. Yeah, if you watch the TV, you'll see that, there's lawsuits out there with meshes, and obviously we use meshes that aren't involved in those types of lawsuits. And the meshes that we use have gone in hundreds of thousands of patients and have been proven safe.
So your chances of success here sounds like greatly in your favor.
Yes, most patients do really, really well after a hernia surgery, and the majority of them never have to deal with their hernia recurrence again.
Well, what about recovery time, and do you have to always the rest of your life kind of be on guard for that?
So again, with hernias, I usually tell people that they're going to probably be out of work for about 7 to 10 days. The big thing with hernia surgery, but even with gallbladder surgery, is that they avoid heavy lifting more than about 15 pounds for 6 weeks. It takes about 6 weeks for the body's natural tissues to kind of grow back together and get back to their full strength. It will never be 100%, but it gets probably back to about 85-90% of what it was.
Well, after you get over the surgery for the hernia, how you pretty much assume a life like you had before it was even diagnosed?
That's right. So after you get past that 6 weeks of lifting restrictions, I tell patients you can do whatever you want to do. It's as strong as it's ever going to be.
So really, that's not having to have invasive surgery, having the mesh, a successful mesh there to take care of the problem. That's a great improvement. I mean, that you've come a long way.
It really is. And, a lot of people have hernias out there. I'll be honest, it's easier to fix when they're small. A lot of times these hernias get really, really large. The concern with hernias is that a piece of bowel can get in there. And if the bowel gets in there, it can actually get trapped. And if it gets trapped and gets tight enough, it can cause ischemia or death of the bowel. And that's where you run into major problems. So we like to fix them early on, when they're still small, when there's no bowel in there.
So anyone who has that problem or even suspects it should check it out. Go ahead and take care of it if they can. The sooner the better.
Yes, sir, exactly.
All right, let's move to colon cancer surgery. You do perform colon cancer surgery, right?
Yes, and unfortunately, just in the setting that I'm in, the majority of the time when we're going to see a patient with colon cancer, it's pretty advanced. Usually, they're coming in with perforation of their colon cancer through the emergency department with severe abdominal pain. So this is my plug. Very, very important. Get your colonoscopies because it will prevent you from having to have emergency surgery with me.
What are some? Well, I guess once you're diagnosed with the colon cancer, and most of the time that comes as a surprise, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, colon cancer is a silent killer, and what happens is that cancer just continues to grow and grow and grow until basically it can cause obstructive-like symptoms in the colon. And by that time, there's a higher risk that it has already basically spread outside the colon into other portions in your body.
If the cancer is contained in the colon and you do surgery, I guess the chances of recovery are a lot better.
They are, and surgery can potentially be curative if it hasn't spread outside the colon.
Well, I've known some people who have actually had stage 4 colon cancer and have recovered, and guess some with surgery, some treated otherwise. But it's not something you'd wish on your worst enemy, really.
No, and again, that's why colonoscopies are so important. But in those patients that do have advanced cancer, stage 4 cancer, we have a cancer center here at Wilson County Hospital, and they are a great cancer center, all inclusive, and take care of patients really well.
Well. Anything else about cancer surgery or especially colon cancer surgery? We covered that pretty well.
We did. I'd also say that in association with our cancer center, we also have a surgical oncologist, Dr. Cameron Schlegel. And in those patients that don't need emergency surgery, we send a lot of patients to her for their colon cancers.
Okay. Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital received their official status as a Level 3 trauma center. So tell us what this means for the hospital and our community.
Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit before, but a lot of hard work went into establishing this achievement. Tracy was a vital component of that, as well as administration, staff, and nursing at the hospital. But basically, Vanderbilt understood that Middle Tennessee is growing. And they understood that there is a desire to have high-quality health care in Wilson County. And so when they bought the hospital in 2019, establishing a trauma center was one of those goals. And we've gone through tremendous amount of preparation and inspection by the state, and we did in fact receive Level 3 state verification saying that we were good to go and be a fully fledged Level 3 trauma center.
Well, the training of a trauma surgeon and your current role with Vanderbilt Hospital and UMC and Wilson County.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about that. It is a long road, undergraduate, medical school, residency, and then fellowship. And in my current role, one of the nice things, so as trauma medical director, as well as the vice chief of staff, I still take shifts at the downtown campus as a trauma surgeon. But that has allowed me to try to bridge the two campuses so that we can ensure that we're offering high quality care out here at Wilson County. A lot of the call shifts are actually covered by some of our downtown trauma surgeons. So patients can rest assured if they end up at Wilson County, they're going to get the highest level of care.
Well, it's just, I started to say a phone call away, but you may not even do it over the phone. You have such close contact with those in Nashville, right?
Exactly. And, we, now that we're a trauma center, can deal with a lot of traumatic injuries. I would say the vast majority of traumatic injuries. But the beauty is, if we can't deal with something here, really, really devastating head injuries, for example, or really devastating spine injuries, then we can fast track patients to the downtown campus.
Well, it's been a joy to have you with us again, and we've covered quite a bit of territory, I think, this morning. Tracy, we always let you have the last word. We've got about a minute and a half here, but thank you for bringing Dr. Andrew Hopper with you today.
Yeah, it's been very exciting to see Dr. Andrew Hopper and his team grow here at Wilson County. He is the medical director of our trauma unit and our trauma program, but it takes a whole group of people, like you said, in collaboration with a lot of trauma surgeons from downtown, our orthopedic surgeons here locally, our emergency department and staff, our laboratory, the blood bank. We have a trauma program manager. So it's been a huge investment for Vanderbilt here in Wilson County to bring this program to our community and to our hospital. We've really worked in collaboration with our emergency service departments here in Wilson County, and it's been great to be a part of it and to see it come to fruition.
Well, we do find out that doctors are human beings in spite of all this medical know-how and expertise that you have. You enjoy sports, I think, and
yes,
maybe
sir.
especially football.
Yes.
So you're looking forward to the college playoffs and so on.
I am, definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. We got to get Vanderbilt there.
Well, don't hold your breath. But thank you so much. Dr. Andrew Hopper and Tracy Pope, Vanderbilt, Wilson County Hospital, and that's part one of Coleman and Company. We've got more, and hope you'll keep it right here, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to our friends at Bates Ford and that regular oil change, $39.95 up to 5 quarts oil, tax and disposal. They're located, brand new location, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. It's pretty heavy now in a couple of spots, especially trying to get out of Gallatin into Hendersonville on Vietnam. That's coming westbound here at Gallatin Pike. It's stacked up pretty good, but it's moving. Let's keep it that way out of Rutherford County, Murfreesboro towards Nashville. As you come up through the Hickory Hollow area, same thing's happening over by the airport on 40 westbound. As you come through Hermitage, Donaldson, coming in from Wilson County, just be careful. Radar spotted in parts of Wilson and Smith County this morning. Princess Hot Chicken is catering during the holiday season. Check them out online today. You can order online, princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
This is Sean Dozier. You're invited to celebrate Christmas at Hearthside Thursday, December 7th from 4 to 7 p.m. Start your evening at the assisted living community with light hors d'oeuvres, hot beverages, fellowship, and musical entertainment, followed by a walking tour of several homes open and decorated for Christmas within the independent living community. Join us for Christmas at Hearthside Thursday, December 7th from 4 to 7 p.m.
Hi, this is Wes Dugan. I'm your local agent for Farm Bureau Insurance, Castle Heights location. I've been serving the needs of the Lebanon Wilson County community for over 14 years and wanted to invite you to come into our Castle Heights office for a free insurance review. If you're considering changing insurance companies, you're welcome to stop by for a free quote. I'll even throw in a new Charlie Cat for stopping by. We will take care of your home, auto, life insurance, and health insurance needs. We're conveniently located at 214 North Castle Heights Avenue here in Lebanon, Tennessee. You can give us a call at 615-453-9702.
Beginning Monday, December 4th, Mike Walker Auction and Realty presents an online auction featuring great merchandise from the Bates Ford moving sale. The auction includes antiques and memorabilia, as well as lifts, racks, shop tools, tires, furniture, shelving, and much more. For more information or to bid on the Bates Ford online moving sale, visit MikeWalkerAuctions.com.
Partly sunny skies. We do see a slight chance of showers and storms by this afternoon. Otherwise, mostly sunny, high of around 55. A slight chance of showers continuing tonight. Mostly cloudy down to about 33. Southwest winds could gust up to 20 miles per hour. Those will turn to the north this evening. This weather forecast is brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. That's a look at your forecast. I'm Stormy Clausen.
We continue here on a Tuesday. Welcome to part 2 of Coleman and Company. I'm Coleman Walker, and I want to introduce Sean Dozier, who really needs no introduction to our regular audience. Sean is Executive Director of Hearthside Senior Living right here in Lebanon, Tennessee. Good morning.
Good morning, Coleman. It's always great to be here on Tuesday.
It's always great to have
I don't know.
It's part of your Tuesday.
Well, I kind of, I don't know. It's a routine, but I'm kind of sleepwalking this morning. Had a long night, but appreciate being here. I always look forward to being here with you. We are 2 days away from our Christmas at Hearthside event. It starts at 4 o'clock Thursday, December 7th from 4 to 7 p.m. We are going to start out in the assisted living, and then we're going to have some light hors d'oeuvres, hot beverages, fellowship, and some musical entertainment I think people will really enjoy. And then we're going to ask people to, if they want to tour our independent living homes. We have 8 or 9 homes that'll be opened up. And I think I did this last week, but let me read you the names of the homes that will be open up for everybody to see. They're decorated incredibly well. And a lot of people, have asked me, hey, can we tour a home? And I say absolutely. But this is a good time to tour several of them. And we'll have 2 and 3 bedroom homes that'll be open up. And we have Ann Lemoyne. She has a great, beautiful home. Bob and Judy McCulley, Georgia Franklin. A lot of people know Georgia. Linda Partlow, Steve and Sharon Roush, Margie Andrews, Pace Pope, Robin and Sherry Carr, and Roger and Amanda Flannery, who have a 2-bedroom home. So if you're interested in seeing these homes in just a beautiful condition with all the Christmas decorations, it would be a great time to see them. So if you want to stop in at the assisted living and see all of our residents, many of our residents will be participating in the event on Thursday night, again, 4 to 7 p.m. Stop in the assisted living first, and then tour some of our homes down in the independent living. It's a great event. We had it back in 2019. We haven't had one of these in a while, so I encourage everybody to come out and just see maybe some residents that you haven't seen in a while, maybe in our assisted living. That might be a good time to stop in and see them, and then also many of our residents in our independent living who are literally opening up their homes for everybody.
Yeah, well, the thing about the retirement community is that all those places are filled, and you have a long waiting list, which we kind of mention nearly every week. And occasionally, you do have an opening in assisted living.
Occasionally, but over the past few weeks, Coleman, we've had more tours and more people interested in the assisted living since I've been there. I don't know what it is, but it's this time of year where people go home and see their loved ones, and maybe they recognize maybe mom or dad or grandma needs a little extra helping hand. So we've had a lot of tours lately. A lot of people come through, a lot of calls, interested in our assisted living. We have I often mention we have a long wait list for our independent living, Coleman, but today we have several on our assisted living wait list as well. So it's a good problem to have. I wish I had more rooms, but everybody's not ready right now. But we've got plenty of people wanting to utilize our services, and that's a great sign.
Well, I know that you've been considering, that the thought has gone through your mind and those on your board and so on about maybe expansion. Is that possible? Is that something you're even talking about occasionally?
We are talking about it. In fact, we had a great meeting Friday after Thanksgiving, and we mapped out a phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 plan for Hearthside over the next 10 years, and we're going to regroup back in January to talk about it. But there is a need for more independent living. There's a need for more assisted living. There's just a need out there for these types of services.
Yeah, looking at it, I mean, you do look at things on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
You've got a great thing going.
Yeah.
It probably has not ever been any better than it is right now.
Right.
And you hesitate sometimes to change a good thing.
Well, that's right. But at the same time, we just don't want to sit around and rest on our laurels. We want to expand and do some things and offer. We've always considered ourselves a ministry and always considered being there to just help people here in Lebanon and Wilson County. That's what we want to continue to do, whether it's independent living or maybe it's some more homes, or maybe it's some independent living apartments, or maybe it's increasing our assisted living. We're looking at all options, but at least we're thinking about it, and who knows.
All right. Are you ready for a Hearthside Hello?
Yesterday at Kiwanis, Jim Harding celebrated 45 years as a Kiwanian, and Jim.
I know Jim.
I know Jim. So I wanted to give
Jim's a good friend of mine.
I wanted to give. I don't think I've ever given Jim Harding a Hearthside hello, but he deserves one. And after 45 years on the Kiwanis Club of Lebanon as a member, he was a president one time, I believe, as well. But he's a great guy, and he's been a part of our community a long, long time. Of course, many times we mentioned his father during the Kiwanis meeting because he was a long time Kiwanian. So I just wanted to give Jim. I hope he's listening. Jim, you're my Hearthside hello today.
Well, that's great, and we appreciate it. This is a good thing.
It's a great tradition. A lot of people mention it to me when I'm out and about. They'll say, "Hey, I heard your Hearthside hello. I just got a text from a good friend, and she said I'm listening to you right now." So a lot of people listen. A lot of people like that Hearthside hello, so I'm going to continue it.
All right. Well, you have a good one. We'll do it again next Tuesday.
You too.
Sean Dozier, Executive Director for Hearthside Senior Living. They are located at 215 Castle Heights Avenue North. You can always reach them by phone, 615-443-1994. And we are 21 minutes before the hour. Jeff Luttrell is our Director of Schools for all the public schools in Wilson County, from pre-K to high school. Jeff, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman.
I say that because you're a man with a big weight on your shoulders, but you got big shoulders. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's happening?
Just, we did meet last night in regular session for December board meeting. And wasn't a lot on the agenda, but a lot going on too. And so,
Well, it's just we're busy here. We're busy educating. We're busy trying to build schools. We're busy, I guess, trying to find bus drivers and teachers. I mean, all of that comes under the heading of Director of Schools.
that's right. And those areas we're still did give a report last night on our construction progress at West Wilson Middle. It's really coming along. We're hoping to be in that building sometime next semester, and we'll get that out as soon as possible. Of course, it's still a lot dependent on finishing up, but that project has went really, really smooth since we broke ground. We've got the new elementary school on Double Log Cabin Road. I was by there yesterday. They're moving dirt. So that's another one in progress. We're in the planning stages on another one on the Gladeville Central Pike area, where we bought some property. So construction's a big part of it, and that's due to our growth.
Well, I guess you had a big agenda last night, but what about what our listeners would want to know from last night's meeting?
Well, probably there was just a couple of things that really where we spent most of our time. But I do want to mention we had a speaker for recognition, Mr. David Purefoy, and I think it was his son-in-law, and they are with a group called Hallway Heroes. And we brought that to two schools, or now they're in two of our schools, and it's basically parent volunteers that go through this organization, and with the partnership with Wilson County Schools. Of course, we background check everybody, and they train them, and they're in our buildings just assisting. So we wanted to highlight that because we want our parents in our schools. We want them to see what's going on, for them to assist us. And, that's at West Elementary and LZ Patton's where the program's at now. It's real popular. So he got to come in and just tell a little bit about his group. So we highlighted that. And then we moved into just regular agenda items. Probably one of the things that's going to gain some attention from last night's meeting, the school board unanimously passed to join in on a social media lawsuit. It's out of California, but there's several districts in Tennessee. Really in Tennessee, I think Clarksville Montgomery School District is the one that really was the first one to get involved. And we've had a lawyer in at the work session that explained what the lawsuit's about. And it was just basically to say the harm that social media is causing to schools, all the things we deal with that gets brought to school. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. It may be these kind of lawsuits sometimes take years to settle, but
yeah. Well, I'm wondering, I'm not very familiar with this, maybe not at all. Where's the problem originating?
Well, I think from the way the lawyer that is handling the case and filed the lawsuit, and I think it resonated with our board members, a lot of what we deal with is triggered by social media. From the TikTok video, the threats. A lot of that's where that takes place. And I think education institutions around the country are saying, we're harmed by this, that this is causing us harm, and somebody should have to take responsibility for what that's causing. It'll be interesting to see. A couple of years ago, there was a similar lawsuit, and I think the same group of attorneys were involved, where they sued the vape companies, and they got a settlement. And so it was unanimous, 7-0 vote that they wanted to join and be a part of that. And you know, social media, all these platforms, the Meta and that own the company that owns all this, you know, and there were some questions in the work session where they asked, is there evidence? And he was adamant, you know, through whistleblowers, where they know things are harmful, but they continue to put it out there. And it'll be interesting to watch this move through the courts.
I tell you, this is not something that's going to really be solved overnight. It's probably going to be much a long, drawn-out thing. But it seems like you're saying we're drawing a line in the sand this far, no more.
Well, and I think that's one good way of putting it. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to some of these platforms, but there's also, with our young people, they create a lot of havoc. And you know, you talk to an administrator, and I've talked to just a few, they're spending a lot of their day dealing with things that started on a social media platform that's being brought into the school. So my opinion is there's some validity. Now, it'll be interesting to see how the judicial system views it.
Okay, we're about time for a break. Jeff Luttrell is our director of schools. He's with us usually after each board meeting and usually on this particular Tuesday of the month. We're glad to have him. We'll talk more after this break here on Coleman & Company, FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Absolute Kubota. They have high performance, high horsepower, 0% financing is still a thing. Now is the best time to save on new Kubota L-Series tractors, rated #1 for durability and owner experience in the U.S. 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. There's a couple of accidents out here, but right now, here's what we're seeing. Heavy traffic trying to get past the airport over here at B&A Airport on 40 westbound. At Donaldson Pike, behind us, you got that heavy volume of traffic in from Wilson County coming through Hermitage, Donaldson. It's crowded right now, but at least it's moving on 24 westbound through the Hickory Hollow area, coming in from Rutherford County, Murfreesboro. Hey, don't miss it this year, Enchanted Garden of Lights at Rock City in Chattanooga. For more information, log on now to searockcity.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
And now, a moment of silence to remember our dear friend.
Sorry. Oh, man. Life can be uncomfortable. Your home doesn't have to be. With a wide range of air conditioners, furnaces, and heat pumps, Rheem makes it easy to feel comfortable, even when you can't be comfortable.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
Where a patient starts their cancer care matters. And here, that means Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, Wilson County. It's Vanderbilt level care without making the drive to Nashville. From screening to diagnosis to treatment and recovery, patients can get all the care they need right here close to home. So now, having the best care team and most advanced treatment is closer than ever. Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, making cancer care personal.
Coleman & Company, thanks for joining us. And again, our thanks to Jeff Luttrell, our director of schools. So let's get back to last night's meeting. You know, did vote 7-0 to go in with the lawyers here to about what's happening with social media and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and we'll just have to see. And last I'd heard, there's 30-some school districts in Tennessee signing on. Mm-hmm. So we'll watch that as it moves through. Next part of the meeting just had a lot of policy readings, first reading policies that we been through policy committee. And you know, we do that annually. We're required to do it. And laws change and you have to update your policies. And we had a policy or two that was pulled to debate and discuss individually. One of them that probably received the most attention and will continue, I'm sure, between now and second reading, there was a 4-3 vote by our board members to part of this book review. And just in summary, on what was passed was they felt like that the issue is who can make a complaint and request a review of one of these books in the library. And presently, it had been any citizen of Wilson County. and that policy was put in place, I don't know, I guess a couple of years ago now. And then state law came out. They came out with state law for that very issue, and it said that only a parent, student, or employee. And that's what most districts had done. We already had ours in place and the state in place, but got a 4-3 vote. It felt like that they wanted to align with state law. And reasoning I heard as I listened, we've been talking about this through some work sessions, was that's who has standing that can take it to the state level. And so that's passed, but I'm sure there'll be some more talk about that for next month's meeting. That was the biggest two things. And
well, those three who thought otherwise, they're wanting anybody still to be able to.
They do. You know, their point of view is that they pay taxes. They're Wilson County residents. They elect that should be their avenue too. And so. But we'll just see. Right now, it got voted to be changed in a democratic process, and we'll watch it and see through second reading. Another thing I want to mention that we board approved is a SOAR, S-O-A-R. It's a mentoring program, and Judge Tatum, I know, has been through the juvenile. We've got a memorandum of understanding together where we're going to bring some mentoring into our student volunteers. And I know, and talked to Judge Tatum yesterday, we were talking about it. He has seen some really good results out of Lebanon Special School District. And again, it's another way for community members to get in and assist in our schools and work with students. So that passed, of course, unanimously, and we're excited to get that started.
Well, now, would this involve? I've heard of it, but I at the moment my memory is not too good of what all it involves. Will it involve all grades from pre-K to through grade 12, or is this more for the high school?
We're going to start in just a couple of our elementary schools.
Right.
That's where we're going to start it to see, and I expect fully that this will grow. But we're so large, 20-some schools. But there's two schools that are going to start this, and their principals are going to be the liaison and are excited about it and want it. And then I think you can see it expand from there.
And speaking of large, what is your enrollment now? You
20,500, a little bit over, and continuing to grow.
20,500, and still growing.
Still growing. Also, a little bit of discussion. You know, there's two topics that just discussing on this, no action taken. Our General Assembly had some, basically I would call it a study group. They called it a committee, looking at the possibility of taking away or rejecting federal funding.
Yes.
And I watched those hearings, not all of them, but I did catch up, and I think I've watched about all of it. There was some discussion. Dr. Myers is our legislative liaison member of the board, and she attended, and she does a good job at that of keeping us abreast of what's going on in General Assembly. And she gave a report that basically outlined things she'd heard there and explained what I think the committee sounds like just reading from some of their comments. That is a very convoluted conversation to think about not having federal funding. Federal funding's been around for a long, long time. And so she gave a report on that and did a really good job keeping us updated on that. And then it didn't get brought up in the meeting, but I want to take a little time while we have here. One of the hot topics now in our education world is governor's outlined a voucher plan.
Yeah.
That would allow students and families to take vouchers and go to private schools. So we've had some discussion on that in the work session, and no action to be taken because the bill's not even be filed, but we will be watching that closely as it moves through General Assembly.
Can you talk a little? I've heard about it. I haven't paid a lot of attention, to be honest, but you feel like the public schools are going to be hurt by this, I take it.
Well, this is not a new concept. Sometimes we're a little bit late to the dance, I like to say. this has been going on. I've been following this for really 20, 25 years of my career. How do you help those families that want an alternate education other than public schools? And used to, it was all you had was private schools. Right. Then we seen the homeschool concept come. Then we were introduced to charter schools, and now the charter schools went to public charter schools. And so my concern, and I'm against it adamantly, I'm speaking on behalf of Jeff Luttrell, been in this business 30 years, and I recognize we continuously have reform, and we have issues in education, because education is hard. When you educate all students, it's a hard business. And so I understand the concern and the need, but as a public director of Wilson County Schools, I cannot say that, oh yeah, I'm okay if I'm going to lose funding. And it's been said, you will not lose funding because it's coming from a separate pot of money. But we are now, this year, under student-centered funding. We went to that TISA. And it's real simple. If I have 1,000 students leave Wilson County Schools, that is reduction in revenue. And if a district our size, when you reduce that many students and you take away that much money, you have to go in and look, okay, are we going to still continue to do these things the same way? And where can we tighten our budget? And an education budget is basically 85% personnel. And then you have fixed costs. We have to budget for buses. We have to budget for diesel fuel. There's several things that are, you can't move that money. It's a fixed cost. So when you get into cutting, if you look and we lose money, and everybody's saying, well, Jeff, that may not happen. Well, I've sat around for the last 5 or 10 years. I was told 2 years ago, don't worry about this. Vouchers will never be in Wilson County. Well, this plan would say in 2 years that vouchers are open for every student in the state of Tennessee. So we have to start looking and planning. And that's my concern. I don't want to lose these programs we have that offer our students extra opportunities. And so that's where I land on it. And it's going to be a really hot topic as the General Assembly goes back into session.
Okay, well, Jeff, if we could go back to the federal funding here for a minute. I take it that the people who would omit that or not accept that surely has to be because of certain stipulations, certain strings that are attached to that. Is that their reason?
I think that was one of the purposes, the main purpose and the focal point of what is attached. And I don't know what I watched. Yeah, there were some answers, but my answer is the federal government's been involved in education a long time. The federal government's involved in everything. There are things attached that are tied back to law, and I really don't know that I got listened and got a good answer of what they said that is attached that they didn't want to do. And so,
well, do you feel like that if federal funding was not accepted and the voucher program goes as you talked about here, you're going to be hit two ways?
Well, you definitely would. Our federal funding's $19 million in this year's budget. So if you lose that, and is the state going to kick in? I'm a taxpayer too. Fiscal responsibility, and here's the big thing: if you don't take federal funding, it's not like we're not going to pay that tax, and it's not like that money's going to flow back to me or to you as a taxpayer. That money is going to be a part of the budget, the federal budget, and if it's sitting there in the education department, Tennessee don't want it, it's probably going to be sent elsewhere. So I don't understand personally how I just.
You're saying that some of your tax dollars, in
Absolutely.
theory at least, will be going to
other state. And so so it has been said. I've heard some discussions. Well, our state we're doing good enough. We can just we don't have to have it, and we'll just cover it. Well, if I'm in another arena, that means you're going to be taking more state dollars to fund education. We've got road issues. We got emergency personnel. I mean, there's all these issues that we have as public bodies. And just like on the vouchers, so, there would be the scenario where if we're going to cut teachers and programs, I would not want to do that. So I would probably want to go to my county commission and say, hey, we've built this school system. This is the things we have, and I don't have the money. Are you going to be willing to, from a local? So, I'm not promoting that. I'm trying to show the reality of where this thing could go, and that's alarming for me.
All right, we got about a minute left here this morning. Some interesting things here, to say the least, and what's going to happen. I'm really wondering, and I guess you certainly are.
I am, and then just on the voucher thing, just real quick before I go, the studies. I like to let the data tell us. We've got a lot of studies, longitudinal studies that have been over a period of time that have followed groups of kids. Initially, there's some studies 15, 20 years ago out of Milwaukee that, it helped to change. But now what we're seeing is that those students are not performing any better. And the biggest thing I will say on it, and I understand parental choice. I don't have a problem with parental choice. I think that's the right of everyone. But the biggest thing, we've been under an accountability model in the state of Tennessee that is really rigorous. If the vouchers are going to go to private institutions, I think it's adamant, and I think public educators are going to be adamant. They should have to take the same state tests and be under the same requirements as we are. And that's the purpose that private schools are there. They don't want to do that. Yeah. And so that's the thing. I can tell you there's a lot of networking going on right now. Really hurts to think, to even hear the discussion. We've said we're going to judge your schools. We're going to label you as a teacher. We're going to label you as a school district based on a state test. And now we're hearing, well, no, there's no accountability in that plan yet. Now, saying that, we won't know all the ins and outs, or the devils of the details, so to speak, till you see the language of the bill that gets filed.
Well, we've come to the end of our time here. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you in January.
Thank you.
And have a good one. All right, that is going to do it for Tuesday. Hope you'll join us tomorrow. Till then, I wish you a tremendous day.